Your Excellency, Ambassador of Greece, Mr. Yannis Tsaousis, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of the Greek Embassy, it is a great honor and pleasure to welcome you this evening to the House of Greece, the House of Greek-British Friendship, as we call it, to our very first event for 2025. We are starting our series of events for 2025 with a subject of common concern, the one of democratic challenges. There are significant democratic trends underway in many parts of the world, and population dynamics globally have undergone serious changes. The world is experiencing a major demographic shift, and we can see this at local, regional, national, European, and international levels. As we will see this evening, each level affects and is affected by what is happening at other levels, because they are all, in a sense, interconnected. Therefore, when there is a widespread concern about an issue, then the search for solutions and responses should be based on reforms suggested by policymakers, experts, and certainly by civil society. And this requires strong synergies, and Greece has always been very much focused on multi-level cooperation. We want to achieve this through dialogue, which is one of the three words that will guide Greece's term in the United Nations Security Council as a non-permanent member for 2 years, 2025-2026. And this is what we're doing tonight. We want to promote dialogue, we want to exchange views and ideas on the demographic challenges and give some answers on how to respond to them. A multidimensional issue that requires the coordination of all services and stakeholders in order to ensure prosperity at all levels of society around the world. An issue that knows no geographical boundaries calls for solutions that aren't bound by geography either. A multi-level approach, international, European, national, local, calls for multi-level responses from international organizations, the UN, the EU, the national states, the local authorities and the civil society and the private initiatives. All of them are represented here tonight. The civil society is represented by some exceptional diaspora Greeks, and we are very grateful to each of you for the invaluable insights you will provide. Ms. Monica Ferro, Director of the London Representation Office of the United Nations Population Fund and former Secretary of State for National Defense of Portugal, will discuss, together with the Greek Ambassador Yannis Tsaousis, how demographic dynamics are evolving in a rapidly changing world, and they will both share with us their insights on this important issue. Professor Melinda Mills, Professor of Demography and Population Health and Director of the Leverhulme Centre for Demographic Science, University of Oxford, will also explain the main demographic challenges in Greece and around the world, the factors influencing the population structure, and what are the most effective policy measures. The European perspective will be presented by the head of the Citizens and Justice and Home Affairs section at the EU delegation to the UK, Mr. Jaime de Villota. Last but not least, the civil society and diaspora Greeks have promoted their own initiatives to develop actions on a solution-oriented basis. Mr. Renos Dimitriou, representative of the non-profit company Hope Genesis, will explain how, through their programs, they contribute to increasing the birth rate in remote regions in Greece. And Mr. George Lemos, Vice President of the Inuse Benevolent Fund and also TV producer, will share with us some interesting stories on the work they have done to support the Greek island of Inouses. Small initiatives can sometimes produce impressive results. Some of you may have heard the case of Fourna. It's a village in Karkonissi region, and there, thanks to the efforts of the local community, they have managed to increase the number of permanent residents of the village, and they are still trying to do so. Tonight, the teacher of the primary school of Fourna and president of the initiative New Life in the Village will share with us this journey of giving new life to the village of Fourna. I think we are ready to start. Let's first watch a video from the UNFPA on AIDS, demographic trends for a world of 8 billion people, and then the Ambassador of Greece, Mr. Tsaousis, and Ms. Monica Ferro from the UNFPA will discuss it all. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming. It's a really great pleasure and honor to have all of you here. For us, it's an important day because it's our first activity trying to tackle a worldwide problem. As Stavroula said, Greece is now a member of the United Nations Security Council, and we are aligning ourselves with the UN agenda, and we're trying to promote this agenda in London and in other cities around the world where we have embassies and where we have people like Stavroula and other members of our team, Stefanos and others, that are able to set this kind of events and set up this kind of events and bring you all together. And we want to make the Greek community familiar with this kind of problems here in London. And in doing so, we have realized that some of you, they are doing that already. There are activities, London-based activities, designed to tackle the problem of the demographic issue, and they are quite successful. And we're going to discuss such initiatives coming from Greeks based in London later on this program. But let's see the wider picture. And we have the wider picture here. We have the representative of the United Nations, Monica Ferro. It's an honor to have you, Monica, with us. We have seen the numbers. Now Monica is going to tell us more about the trends. But before starting our discussion, I wanted to ask you a personal question. I mean, how do you feel about this? I mean, I don't want to get in psychology, though psychology and demography are both Greek words, but I don't want to get into that. But what drives you every day? What is your motive every day to deal with this issue? And what you feel can be is actually your personal contribution to that? And really, why you're doing this? I know that you have been working hard, both in your own country. You are a politician, a well-known politician in Portugal, but also in the context of the UN.
This wasn't arranged.
Surprise!
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for the invitation. It's very kind of you, and thank you for making your first event of the year about such a critical issue, an issue that resonates with all of us. Regardless of the numbers, I think we all have an emotional connection with this theme. Talking about population triggers something in us. We're either anxious, we're either confident. So I think that today, if we can set straight some numbers, some trends, and then with the rest of the group is going to help us to discuss what can be done, that all of us leave the room a bit more at ease with the process. So I work for the United Nations Population Fund, and this is really our DNA. Data and population data is our DNA. We were created in 1967. Most of you will probably have heard that there's a book published, around those dates that was called The Demographic Bomb, and it had a very simple proposal. Population is going to grow exponentially. The natural resources are going to grow slowly. So we will come a time when the world will have turmoil, chaos, not enough food to feed everyone. So the UN decided to create a technical fund. I know it's the least sexy thing you can imagine, but we were created to provide member states with data on demographic trends. If you want to build schools, you need to know how many children are being born in your country so that you can plan accordingly. You need to know how your population is spread throughout the country so that you decide where to build hospitals, big infrastructures. So this was like the idea behind the creation of the United Nations Population Fund. I know the name doesn't match the acronym because we were created to be the United Nations Fund for Population Activities. And we still do them. We are the agency that does the census. In most of the middle income and low income countries, we do the census. And as you can imagine, a census, counting the population in a country in a very granular manner, it's probably the most complex operation you can undertake in peacetime. And so this is the backbone of UNFPA. Of course, time passed. And while working numbers, we also started to work the rights of the people we were counting. We also started to work on the trends, on the drivers of those demographic trends. If we are working on fertility, you have to work also on access to family planning. If you want to work on maternal health, you also need to tackle the issues connected with safe deliveries. So we started to work rights, and during the decade of the 90s, the golden decade of the United Nations, when the world came back to the United Nations with all those amazing conferences. In 1994, the Conference on Population and Development in Cairo gave UNFPA the mandate we have now. We say it's a paradigm shift. We shifted from human numbers to human rights, although we still do the numbers. And this is why you will find us today working on maternal health, leading the joint program to end child marriage, leading the joint program to end female genital mutilation, the agency that provides family planning to the world, maternal health. And this is a big turn to say, I always, when I was in Parliament, I was looking at this agency, and I was the chair of an all-party group that worked with the UNFPA, and I kept on thinking, one day I want to work for this organization. I want to be part of the change that I'm advocating for, because in Parliament I advocated for legislation, for fundraising, and then I couldn't believe my luck when 8 years ago the job opened to external candidates. I have applied to it, and I got this job. So I feel I'm doing precisely the same I was doing in Portugal, but now for the United Nations. And I feel very passionate about this. So when the invitation came to join you today, I was like, yes, please. That was my reaction. I'm sorry, it was a big explanation, but just to give you a bit of context of what the United Nations Population Fund does.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It usually takes time, to realize that you want to deal with an issue. Sometimes it takes only moments. Sometimes it takes years, many years, but still you are here, and we are very happy that you're still continuing over the years to deal with that, both nationally and internationally. Now, talking about aging and family planning that you have spoken about, aging and decline and the decline in fertility are two. They are not problems, but are two issues that are really related with the demographic issue. I have just received, half an hour ago, an article by the Financial Times today. It is about, the title is Baby Gap, Why Governments Cannot Pay Their Way to Higher Birth Rates. And there are examples, for instance, that China has offered free fertility treatments, that Hungary, big tax exemptions and also cash. Singapore, grants for parents and grandparents. Then a Danish travel company even ran an ad campaign titled "Do It for Denmark." In Japan, the state funds AI-powered matchmaking, and so forth and so forth. Why this is not working? Or, this is an exaggeration, what the article says.
No, and it's not an exaggeration. It's actually something that leaves us a bit puzzled. Probably I shouldn't say this. So one of the trends that we are seeing, and we published a report in 2023. It's available online. It's a really interesting report. It's called 8 Billion Lives, Infinite Possibilities. And it's where we talk about the fact that the world has reached the number of 8 billion. It was in 2022, if you remember, we marked the day, 15th of November was the symbolic day for us to reach 8 billion people. And of course, each time we reach 8 billion people, 1 billion more, the question always rises, is this sustainable? Can we really afford to have more people in the planet? And what we are seeing, Ambassador, is that the trend has decelerated. It took us, the 6 billion baby was born in 1999, the 7 billion baby was born in 2011, the 8 billion baby was born in 2022. So it's really slowing down. We know that the population is going to grow until we reach 10 billion, 10.7. That's what is expected. And then it's going to plateau. And then we are anticipating that it's going to slowly reduce. And why? Because we don't have enough women to have babies. That's also the reason. The reason why we keep on growing now, it's what we call the population inertia or the population momentum. I don't drive, But people tell me that when you drive and you push the brake, it takes some time for the car to fully stop. And this is what we are witnessing. We are witnessing a scenario where a lot of European countries are below the replacement level, the 2.1. The 2.1 is something the demographers actually like. It's how many children each couple need to have in order to replace their place for future generations. If you discount migration, if you discount crisis. So I think it's an easy number, but it's not the gold standard. There's no scientific, really, evidence behind the fact that 2.1 is the best number. There's no ideal demographic number for you. But what we are seeing is that I have a map that I'll show you. It says everything. So 200 years ago, you had one fertility rate in the world. It was high. We had a high fertility rate in the world. Now, 200 years later, with the advancements on medicine, with family planning, with the access to contraception, you have several fertility rates in the world. It's about four big clusters, from countries who had a low fertility rate for a long time, up to countries who have still a high fertility rate, mainly African countries, and they are the ones leading on this population momentum. But if you put them in a hemicircle from the lowest rates to the highest rates, or like you do a hemicircle, and you put your finger in any part of the circle and ask couples and individuals, do you have the number of children you want? The response will always be no. They either have less or they have more children than what they want. So this is what we are seeing all over the world. In Europe, in the cases you've just mentioned, and also in some Asian countries that are part of this low fertility for a long period, couples and individuals are telling us they don't have enough children. They would like to have more. Then why do they don't have more children? And we know why. Childcare is expensive. Housing, precarious jobs, gender stereotypes and gender negative norms. Something that we spoke the other day. What we call the motherhood penalty. The fact that women know that they often have to choose between having a career or being mothers, because they know that if they are mothers and they have a career, they will often be not selected for more challenging jobs. They will not be selected for a promotion. Why? Because an employer knows that if he hires a woman or if he promotes a woman, the probability of her missing the work in order to take care of children, take care of sick family members, and all the double burden that women have to face makes them less desirable, according to some employers, to those positions. So we are really seeing a trend all over the world, what we call the demographic transition to low fertility levels, that combined with an aging population, people are living longer. It's actually great, right? The fact that we are living longer, healthier lives. But then if you combine low fertility with people living longer, with this coming to our European context, with this out-migration of young people, especially if you think, I have a chart here, let me show it to you, maybe it's oh, I was told how to do this. So this is the evolution for I'm just going to show you two charts, I'm not going to be too boring. So this is the evolution of the pace of growth of the population. As you can see, and now in 2022, there's still some momentum due to the fact that we still have a lot of countries with high fertility rates. So they're going to keep the pace, despite the fact that it says slow down a bit. Since 2020, so since the 50s, the pace has been slowing down. And since 2020, the pace is below 1%. So we're still growing, but it's a much slower growth. And especially if you look at 2080, this is when we're going to plateau and then the population is going to decrease. This is an example of what I wanted to show you, how the population and the growth rate, and this is of course generating anxiety. We know anxiety comes from this. We know that Greece, Portugal, I can give you the example of Portugal, people are very worried about the sustainability of the social welfare system. If you consider that in 2050, the percentage is, here in the UK, the percentage is for each 1 million people joining the workforce, you will have 5 million becoming pensioners. So this is a huge impact for a country. And of course, we know this creates anxiety. I brought you some other numbers of the shifts in population, but this one on Europe, you can see that in Europe, 17 countries, and they're all in that part of the world, are countries who have now a smaller population than what they had in 1990. And we understand why this causes anxiety. So the numbers you just shared with us, they are intriguing because those are the policies we recommend. We recommend incentives, fiscal incentives. We recommend childcare. We recommend parental leave. We recommend policies that are driven by human rights. Mm-hmm. And that allow for individuals and couples actually to choose the size of their families. It's like if you think that what's preventing people from realizing their desired fertility is a set of obstacles. So what we are recommending countries is identify the obstacles and remove them. And the majority of the countries you mentioned, they are actually removing the obstacles. So there's something more to it. It's also a matter of, if I can pinpoint a couple of issues, it's a matter of the gender unbalance and the gender inequality, because women are the ones who are having the babies, and they really don't feel that society is ready to accommodate being a mother and being a professional, or being a mother, being a politician. You know, we shouldn't share our personal stories, but I'm a mother, and I had the children I wanted. So I can say this, but I can share with you. And if you think carefully, most of you can name a couple of friends you have or acquaintances that didn't have the number of children they wanted. Some of them didn't want children, which is fine. We want rights and choices for everyone, but the majority of people don't have babies. They actually name these issues. They name these barriers, these obstacles. You know, it's not about only having access to rights and choices. It's having the institutional and the social and economic environment that will allow you to lead a productive life, but also with quality. We all want to live with quality. And also there's also an issue of...
life is too short, I mean.
Yes. And Ambassador, we also have some data of people who don't want to have children because they are worried about the impact on climate, the impact on the planet. And we also have this issue. I'm sorry, this is probably not a very nice conversation to have at this hour, but you also have the fact that because some couples are delaying until very late the beginning of childbirth, they face issues of infertility. And that's been below the radar of most of our countries. You know, there's a huge investment in family planning, and I feel very close to that because we are the largest distributor of family planning in the world. My colleague Beatrice sitting there, she's actually the person who manages our big program called the Supplies Program. But in a lot of countries, dealing with these issues actually means assisted fertilization. This is what some people in all countries need. So, and I brought this map. It's not to discourage people, it's just to show the scenario in European countries.
You can really understand what is really happening when you take a look at this map. A last and brief question, talking about nice conversations. It's about islands.
Yes.
Not Greek islands, not holidays. It's about remote islands. You know that we're a country with thousands of islands, but there are many other countries in the world that they have remote islands, and they are facing the same problems. And of course, in the second part of our event, we're going to discuss solutions, thanks to the support also of our Greek diaspora. Do you have any examples or any best practices on how to deal with this issue in this particular geographic situations?
Yeah, we do. So we work in 130 countries. We are present in 150, but we run programs in 130. So with this variety comes also all types of programs being managed and experiences. And one of the programs that comes first to my mind was our program in the Maldives. Also a very challenging setting in the sense that it's an island state, an archipelago state, and the Maldives. It actually took them 25 years But with the steady investment and with good practices, they managed to reduce maternal mortality and secure access to sexual reproductive health and rights to the majority of their population. The work we do in Indonesia, it's not an island, but this just came into my mind. But
same configuration as
like ours. In Mozambique, we just started a new project. It's not an island, I know, but we just started a new project by which we deliver services and we deliver products by boat. So it's about setting up the infrastructure, understanding what's the population. And if I just can have a last word on this, because it fits on this. So our recommendation to these countries, if you see there's a reference saying Decade of Demographic Resilience. So that's a program we are managing from Istanbul that covers all those countries. And what we are saying to member states is something that's very, very easy, which is know your population. Demographic transitions are not going to change in the near future. We are really moving to a scenario where we have low fertility rates, aging population, and again, we want to live longer. All of us want to live longer. But we also need to understand that this will impact social welfare. This will impact the tissue of our economy, the fabric of our economy, workforce. So what we are saying to member states is know your population, plan your social services and your policies for the population you're going to have, not for the population you wished you had, because that doesn't work. The top-down approaches don't work. I always say that if you ask people how many children they have instead of how many children they want to have, it's a different question. One of them is about achieved fertility. The other one is about desired fertility. So if you ask people how many children they have instead of how many children they want to have, you are focusing on numbers. And when you focus on numbers, the problem and the solution always has the shape of the body of a woman. We are too many. Let's prevent women from having babies. And we know how that's done. We are too few. Let's force women to have babies. Let's cut access to family planning. Let's cut access to abortion. Let's send women home. So we have to be careful that these policies designed to increase fertility don't violate the human rights of our nationals. So, and with this framework, the work we are doing in islands is pretty much this. It's knowing where people are, knowing what the needs are, and setting up programs that are adapted to these realities. It's completely different to deliver maternal health in the Maldives or in Greece than it is to deliver the services in a country that you can reach everyone by road. In some countries, we need to have midwives on bikes. In some countries, we need to have an app that you can register because you are pregnant, and the midwife in the capital monitors where you are and when you need her. I even mentioned to you during COVID, we had drones distributing family planning. There was no other way we could reach. You could reach certain places in the middle of a crisis. This is how you need to reach people. So the advice is know your people, do debates like this. So this is the most valuable contribution you can have, and then count on us to help you design policies that are aligned with human rights and save mothers' lives. It's our work.
It's my turn now to say, wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Ms. Ferro, thank you so much. Such an enlightening discussion. Let's keep in mind the need for reforms in order to address the pressing challenges posed by demographic change, and how we should set up infrastructure, you said, plan the policies according to the population we're going to have, and respecting always the human rights, and how we should promote comprehensive care systems and more inclusive societies. Thank you so much. And now, Professor Melinda Mills, Professor of Demography and Population Health at the University of Oxford, brings her expertise in demography and has some intriguing points to share with us this evening. Professor Mills, thank you so much for being tonight with us. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
And
can you hear me?
Of course we can hear you, and the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. I noticed that sharing isn't turned on, so you will need to make me a co-host of the meeting to allow me to share my slides. If that's too difficult, I can just talk for 5 minutes. Just
It's
let me
okay.
know.
No, I think we're
Talking and
gonna.
we will fix it.
If you wanna, please start talking, and I
Sure.
think in the meantime we're gonna fix it.
Sure, that's fine. I'll just start. Oh, I can see
I
now.
think
that
we are
you're
fine. I
very
think we're
quick.
fine.
Yeah, so just let me share my screens right now. So first of all, thank you very much, Ambassador and everyone there, and my apologies that I'm not joining you in person. There we go. I just wanted to, so some of the things that I'll be talking about will in many ways reiterate or repeat some of the things that we've just heard. So this has been a topic that has been discussed in many countries. I was just in South Korea in November. It's one of the countries with the lowest fertility rates in the world. So Greece has population challenges that are similar to many others. You have low birth rate, what we were just discussing, aging, longer life expectancy, but you also have a brain drain and emigration and young people going to urban centers, and you have rural depopulation, but also leaving the country as well. And I want to talk to you about pension gaps as well. So yes, we are demographers, so we do like our numbers. So we just showing you. So this simple mathematical equation and model we use of the replacement rate of 2.1 is basically whether a population will replace itself from one generation to the next, and that's net population growth. So that's why we use that number. And Greece is naturally, it's calculating births and deaths, will have actually negative population growth in the coming period, and that's in the absence of migration or increases in fertility or drops in life expectancy. So this just shows you over time how Greece compares to many other countries, and it's similar in many ways, but it actually has one of the lowest fertility rates if we look at within Europe. Also, the average age of mothers at childbirth and fathers as well has gone up, and Greece has one of the highest ones. So we can see that, on average, people are having their children above the age of 30. I also study biological aspects of fertility and infertility, and what you'll see is people, although they want to have children, they're having increasingly difficulties biologically in having second or third children, and sometimes even first children. And as discussed before, the life expectancy at birth has also gone up. So in many ways, a good news story. Women still outlive men. That's in many countries as well. And you can see that Greece, particularly in comparison to some other areas in Europe, has a high life expectancy into the high 70s and 80s as well. But this means, as you were just discussing, this is a huge shift in the population. So we often look at things in terms of population compositions and pyramids. So in 2023, you'll see women are the purple on the left and men are the yellow on the right. And what you'll see is you have a larger female population and older population. So this really results in, changes to infrastructure, to thinking about pensions and housing. And even we often talk with different businesses as well, because it really changes the products and what people buy as well too. But you'll see, we often think as demographers in terms of dependency ratios. So you need that baseline of a population that will be working to pay into pension funds, but also to care for the elderly and older and aging population. So that's what we come to when we think about age at retirement. So this just shows the average age of retirement for men from the 1970s up until 2018. And you'll see in comparison to some other countries in the world, the average age of retirement for men is 62. There's countries in like Japan, for example, that have had an aging population for a considerably longer period of time. And just to give you a comparison, around 25% of 65-year-old men are still in the labor market. So that's one way that they're trying to shift to deal with aging populations. They're shifting the age of retirement. As was also discussed, this just shows you a graph, and I'm not sure how big your screen is, so maybe you can't see it, but let me just discuss it for you. So yellow means that you have a shrinking population, and blue means you have a growing population, and that's over the last 10 years from 2003 to 2023. What you'll see in Greece, but many areas in Europe, you have this shrinkage and very strong decrease in population. And, you know, by 2050, Europe itself will be about 3 to 4% of the world's population, and that causes a lot of concerns for trade and you know, economic situations. So, I mean, it's a discussion that we're talking about with many governments. I think something we shouldn't forget is that shrinking populations can fuel some very divisive politics, and we've seen that across many countries as well. So demography and democracy. You have groups that have wealth, they're having fewer children. You're starting to have labor shortages, particularly in care. And people are seeing schools closing, they're seeing whole services starting to shrink. There's this shift to urbanization, moving to cities for opportunities. And there's a large frustration of people who feel left behind and see money being spent on migrants in their view. And that's fueling a lot of very divisive politics as well. So we shouldn't forget that demography is really important in our communication about it. So just to conclude, just finally, I heard the ambassador talking and about all these different fertility policies. So Hungary at the moment is spending 5% of its GDP on these pro-natalist policies, which is just very extreme. And we know that, as you discussed, they haven't been that efficient. So what we've been talking about with some governments, such as South Korea and, you know, in other areas, is thinking about how people live and, you know, where they're commuting, how it works to have children, rethinking education systems, rethinking combining care of young and old, aging, the pension age. But also thinking about how some countries are looking towards generative AI and robotics, also for increasing productivity. So Greece, if it keeps these low fertility levels, will probably have to triple in labor market productivity, or try to recruit or bring in migrants to try to deal with the shrinking workforce. So there's different options that people are focusing on. And I think something we often forget with shrinking populations are things related to mental health, loneliness, and also the difficulties that youth have in getting a job and why they're moving for different opportunities. So I'm going to stop there because I've been asked to speak only for a few minutes, and I thank you very much for your attention, and my apologies that I wasn't able to be there this evening in person.
Thank you very much, Professor Mills, for all the insightful points and the arguments you shared. Very interesting data here for Greece and for all the words. I don't know if the ambassador would like to say something. And
just hello and many thanks.
Many thanks and many thanks. I hope to see you soon in person someday. Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you. And now I think it's time to learn a little bit about the European perspective on the demographic issue. And Mr. Jaime de Villota, Head of Citizens and Justice and Home Affairs Unit at the EU delegation to the UK, I think is the right person to do so. Please, you have the floor.
That's too much saying. Thank you, Ambassador, for the invitation, and thank you, Monica, for those great insights. I'll try to be very brief and provide just a few remarks of the EU perspective. And I find remarkable how demographic challenges are perceived differently in each member state of the European Union. A recent Eurobarometer survey precisely found out that, for instance, for the Polish, it's about population aging. For the Germans, it's about migration and integration. For the Finns and Baltics, low fertility rates. And for the Greeks, depopulation and brain drain, as we were seeing, thanks to Professor Mills. That is quite something. And you know the facts, the hard facts. There's 450 million EU citizens living in the territory of the 27 member states. And in addition, there are clear structural long-term demographic trends in Europe, as we've seen. Life expectancy keeps slowly increasing. The number of live births has been decreasing since the 60s, and net migration increases about 1.5 million per year, which is a debate that is mainly that we can see in many countries, also like in the UK. However, what is clear is that demographic change in the EU has an impact on the labor market as Europe's working age population is shrinking, employment as people live longer and healthier lives, care services because of the growing share of the older people, demographic balance between member states, as we've seen, those growing and those with declining trends, and rural areas which are more affected by population decline. And this affects the overall situation in which the EU is left, as it will have less and less percentage share of the population of the world, as the professor has also explained, and that can really affect our competitiveness in the world. These common challenges have prompted our leaders to tackle demographic change from an EU perspective. And that is why the highest level of political cooperation between member states in the European Union, the European Council, which gathers heads of state and government, decided to task the Commission to present a demography toolbox that could help and support member states tackle demographic challenges. And this term, President of the Commission, von der Leyen, decided to task one of its vice presidents, the Croatian Dubravka Šuica, with the coordination of the demography file. But I wanted to share just some insight on the demography toolbox, which was prepared in 2023 in response to this call by the European Council, and which draws from experiences from the EU member states and sets out a comprehensive approach to demographic change, structured in 4 pillars. The first one is to support parents by better reconciling family aspirations and paid work, notably by ensuring access to quality childcare and good work-life balance. The second one is supporting and empowering younger generations to thrive, develop their skills, facilitate their access to the labor market and to affordable housing. There's even a dedicated commissioner in the European Union that will put together the first ever plan on affordable housing. Thirdly, empowering older generations and sustaining their welfare through reforms combined with appropriate labor market and workplace policies. And last but not least, where necessary, addressing labor shortages through managed legal migration in full complementarity to harnessing talents from within the European Union. And it's interesting to note that employment rate in the EU has reached a new record high, but still half of the companies report labor shortages. One of the main elements of the toolbox is that it steps up efforts to counter the risk of territorial disparities caused by demographic change. The EU wants to aim at transforming all EU regions into dynamic, talent-driven locations. To this objective, the EU has launched the Talent Booster Mechanism, as it's called, which is being fully operationalized. And it provides technical assistance to some of the most affected regions and funding for reforms and innovation, which is already materializing with projects on the ground in 70 regions and cities. But how will member states will fund all these initiatives? That's the question that many people ask. And the main vehicle at the service of member states is well known. It's cohesion funds, which already support a broad range of national policies addressing different angles of demographic transition and stimulate the regional growth and employment through investments and in businesses and innovation, connectivity, and infrastructure endowment. For instance, for the 2021-27 period, Greece has been earmarked more than 21 billion in cohesion funds. And it's likely that demography will be a big topic for the next round of the funding of the multi-annual financial framework. Let me end by saying that tackling this way, the EU hopes that demography change can be managed to strengthen Europe's resilience overall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it was very important for all of us to learn more about the EU's approach on this issue. And despite the different European perspective, we're all the same. And we have this, you said, demography toolbox. Thank you very much for this, for informing us on this. And now I believe that we have an overall idea on the demographic variables, their determinants and their consequences on an international level. And I think it's time to move to the part of the responses and how the civil society reacts in a positive and effective way. Diaspora Greeks have a lot to say on that. We have tonight with us via Zoom Mr. Renos Dimitriou. He is London-based, representative of the NGO Hope Genesis, who will present the work they have done in various remote regions of Greece. Mr. Dimitriou,
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? And more importantly, can you see me?
We can hear you and we can see you, so we have it all.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay, I can share actually the screen as well. So let me attempt to share it. And please let me know. Can you see it?
Yeah. We can see it, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about Hope Genesis. As you correctly said, Hope Genesis is a non-profit, non-government organization which was founded in 2015 by Dr. Stefan Skandakas. I'm not the founder. I'm one of the members and I'm one of the main donors. And I'm very proud to be associated with the organization whose aim is to try to reverse the trend of the falling birth rates in different areas in Greece that we'll talk about through different pillars of support of families. We operate in more than 450 areas, so we're expanding very quickly in the last 10 years. We are in cooperation with 24 medical centers, and our team of doctors, midwives, and health professionals sum up to around 50 people. More than 800 families have been benefited from the program. In some areas, there were no births. For example, we had the first child in a remote island called Pimena in the Southeast Aegean. And I'm very proud to say that the Southeast Aegean, that's one of the main areas that we concentrated. All the indices now are starting to turn upwards. The absolute numbers are not very big, but the trend is extremely encouraging. So how do we do it? What do we do? First of all, the ideology is that every woman should have the right to birth, irrespective of any financial difficulties. So the first pillar is the organization approaches people like myself and other donors and companies, not just physical persons, and they ask us if we like to adopt an area. For example, I have adopted 5 islands in the Aegean, one of them being Castellorizo, one of them being Halki, for example. I'm responsible, financially responsible for all birth, for all children, and we have to cover all costs. 7 pillars, 6 pillars. The first one, as I mentioned, is taking away the financial constraints. The second pillar is that we provide for IVFs if there is any fertility problems, and we fully fund it. The third pillar is we provide remote medical monitoring for all the program's beneficiaries, and by that means Bluetooth technology. So we've had a lot of fundraisers to get the technology so future mothers can check on the health and the pulse of babies remotely. Then the fourth pillar, we realize that not only do we have problems with actually the fertility rate, but one of the main worries is that a lot of those remote islands don't have a lot of preschool facilities like nurseries. So the organization has started building nurseries. I think we built now around 6 or 7 nurseries. I'm very proud to say that my daughter is doing a very big art exhibition in London here tomorrow, and all the funds are going to build our first nursery in Sydney. And we're hoping to cover all the costs for that refurbishment. So preschool care is the fourth pillar. And finally, the fifth and the sixth pillar is conducting research together with the public and the private sector, and also organizing all kinds of meetings and workshops to increase awareness of the issue. And to conclude, one of the main reasons, for example, that I was attracted to this effort was that from a donor's perspective, you want every euro that you donate to have as big of an impact as measured by the multiplying effect as possible. We have calculated that for every €1 donated to Hope Genesis, there is a value of 5.5 times to return to the society. And that does not include any other social economic benefits for the local communities. And to conclude, the footprint of our activities so far amounts to around €2.7 million. So this sums up what we'll be doing. If you would like to see any more information, if you'd like to become a friend, or if you potentially want to become a donor, You can find everything on our website, on Hope Genesis. And thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to present our work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Dimitriou. I don't know if the ambassador would like to say hello or okay.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I think we were all very impressed and we were very moved by the work of your organization in revitalizing the remote regions of Greece. Thank you very much and good luck tomorrow. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye. And now we can continue in the same spirit of revitalization to hear Mr. George Lemos, Vice President of the INUSE Benevolent Fund, based in London, Ταμείο Ευπραγίας Ινουσών, the so-called TEO, as you will see it mentioned in the video, describe the important work they have been doing for some years now on the island of Inuses in the North Aegean. But first, let's watch a very informative video about Inuses produced and directed by Andreas Hadjipateras.
Εδώ σε αυτό το νησί ζουν 700-800 εκεί περίπου άτομα. Είναι νέα νησάκια. Το μεγαλύτερο είναι η Παναγία. Εδώ θα είμαι 14 χρονών. Τα παλιά χρόνια ήταν αλλιώς. Ζούσαν 5.500 κάτοικοι. Τώρα όμως έχουν μαζευτεί όλοι στο χωριό. Πρώτα ήταν στις εξοχές και μένανε εκεί πέρα.
Έχω γεννηθεί εδώ στις Ινούσες. Ο πατέρας μου ήταν ναυτικός. Η ζωή μας ήταν ευχάριστη, πικρή. Άνετα ζούσαμε γιατί είχε πολύ κόσμο, είχε παιδιά πάρα πολλά. Πήγαμε στο σχολείο, ήταν πιο φτωχικά τα χρόνια, αλλά ήταν πολύ πιο ωραία. Η θάλασσα είναι σημαντική για τις Ινούσες, γιατί δεν υπάρχουν άλλες δουλειές. Είμαστε γεννημένοι μες στη θάλασσα, η αρμύρα στο σώμα μας είναι αλάτι σκέτο, να πούμε, είμαστε μέσα στο αλάτι θρεμμένοι.
Έκανα μία έρευνα ποια από τις ακαδημίες του Δημογραφικού Ναυτικού της Ελλάδας ήταν οι καλύτερες και κατέληξα στην απόφαση ότι η Ακαδημία του Δημογραφικού Ναυτικού των Ινουσών είναι, αν όχι η καλύτερη, είναι μία από τις καλύτερες της Ελλάδας.
Μ' αρέσει εδώ πέρα γιατί είναι ωραία, δεν έχει πολλά μάτια, πολλούς κάτοικους. Έχουν ελευθερία εδώ τα παιδιά.
Ο Οδυσσέας κοντεύει να φτάσει στην Ηθάκη και σταματάει με τους συντρόφους σε ένα νησί.
Με το που πάτησα το πόδι μου εδώ πέρα, αντίκρισα ένα περιβάλλον πολύ πιο φιλικό και ένα περιβάλλον πολύ πιο φιλικά κατοικήσιμο.
Ναι, υπάρχει ελπίδα. Να ξαναζωντανέψει και να γίνει όπως ήταν παλιά.
I produced the film. I still get emotional when I see it, because it was a labor of love. I'd also like to add, actually, by happy coincidence, that Hope Genesis visited Inuses, and we've had some great interactions with them, and so that was very, very nice to see them there. Your Excellency, esteemed fellow speakers, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to address you today regarding the beautiful remote island of Inuses, a place renowned for its rich maritime heritage and traditions. The island faces unique challenges due to its demographic trends and geographic isolation. Historically significant as an island of ship owners, Inusians were pioneers in modern Greek shipping by owning the first Greek commercial steamboats. As you saw, Inuses comprises of 9 small islands situated in northeastern Aegean Sea, between Chios's eastern coast and the Turkish coastline. Of these, only Inuses remains inhabited, hosting a winter population of about 800 residents. The island's geographic position poses significant vulnerabilities, particularly regarding access to wider essential services in Chios. Disruptions in transportation due to adverse weather can isolate the island for days, impacting healthcare, shops, postal services, and banking. This dependence on seasonal transport limits the island's autonomy and quality of life for the islanders. In addition, the proximity to their noisy neighbors can at times fuel tensions. The limited amenities compared to the larger islands have diminished Inuses' appeal as a place of residence, accelerating population decline. Younger generations often relocate to Chios or the mainland for better employment opportunities, contributing to an aging community. And some older residents also move closer to advanced medical facilities. Those remaining are often families of seafarers who face emotional and logistical challenges due to the extended absences of their breadwinners. Despite these demographic challenges, 7 initiatives aim to secure a vibrant future for Inuses. Education is pivotal in this strategy. The island offers a privately funded creche, a kindergarten, and a junior school, which serves as the educational foundation for many families. Additionally, there is a senior school and a vocational high school focused on nautical studies, complete with its privately funded boarding house. Of course, the prestigious Mercantile Marine Academy for Captains, one of Greece's most prestigious institutions, continues to attract students from all over the country. However, funding remains a challenge. The municipal office actively seeks financial support through Greek government initiatives, European Union funding packages like ESPA, and through private benefactors. Efforts are also made to attract and integrate skilled educators and their families into the island's fabric. In terms of energy, Inuses aims for self-sufficiency to reduce reliance on external supplies and its dependence on Chios. The island is piloting the innovative Musica project that will integrate sustainable energy solutions into everyday life, emphasizing renewable energy sources and infrastructure improvements. The island has also invested in rainwater reservoirs, desalination plants, and drinking water production to ensure reliable and sustainable water supplies. Internet consultations have become crucial for residents to access medical expertise beyond the local doctor, nurse, and pharmacist. The island offers free Wi-Fi for its residents. For urgent needs, the island relies on daily ferry service to Chios and twice-weekly ferries to Piraeus. The daily service is complemented by water taxis. There is also helicopter access, and the new initiative of hydroplane access will improve connectivity and allow quicker emergency responses. Recognized as a key driver for economic growth, tourism is being developed further. Small hotels, Airbnbs, and a marina are in place, needing some modernization to meet contemporary visitor demands. Agro-tourism presents a great potential, leveraging local products such as wine, olives, cheese, and herbs, offering opportunities to develop a niche in the tourism sector. The tourism infrastructure, including taxis, restaurants, and diverse recreational facilities, are being improved. The island's stunning clear seas, clean beaches, and its natural beauty stand out. A key promoter in all of these solutions is the Inousse Benevolent Fund, or Tamio Efrahias Inouson Teo, as it's recognized in Greece. OBF is now a UK registered charity, but it was founded in 1942 by my uncles, grandparents, relatives, Inoussians living in London, to help compatriots on the island who were enduring wartime hardships. 83 years on, OBF plays a vital role in the island's social, cultural, religious, and educational causes through the current Inoussian diaspora, who maintain close links with the mayor and the local population. Historic activities included financial support for families in need, educational facilities, and the church upkeep. Today, these obligations continue, along with financing and sponsorship of schools upkeep, wheelchair access, classroom equipment, naval cadet meals, funding educational trips, medical, cultural, and social events, maintenance of the yachting club, supporting the football team, Christmas gifts to teachers and children up to the age of 13, and much more, as you saw in the brief video. In conclusion, Inousse faces a distinctive set of demographic and geographic challenges. However, it is addressing these issues with innovative, sustainable solutions aimed at securing a brighter future for all residents. Education, energy self-sufficiency, healthcare and transport links, and tourism development form part of a comprehensive strategy to ensure that Inousse remains an attractive, appealing, thriving and vibrant community. With continued support from the Greek government, the European Union, and altruistic organizations like TEO, OBF, Inousse can overcome its challenges, honor its historic traditions, while embracing enterprising opportunities of the modern world. And as the islanders would say, Agios o skopos σας, may your purpose be saintly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lemos, for your 83-year work, your love, mainly your love for Inousse.
He's younger than that.
Sorry.
He's younger than that.
Of course he is. Much younger, I might say. And for what you're doing serves as a model for all and a guide for future actions throughout Greece. Thank you. And now we are really very happy that we will conclude these events with the case of Furna, as I mentioned before, an impressive initiative of the local community. We will connect with Ms. Panayota Diamanti, president of the NGO New Life in the Village and teacher at the primary school in Furna in the region of Karpenisi, mainland Greece. But from the AP, just to have a quick idea about what it is, but we can hear all about it from you. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us, and we're looking forward to share your journey with us. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you warmly for the invitation and for the opportunity to share with you an initiative that started out of necessity but has evolved into a shining example of hope and regeneration. We approach the topic of demographics from a socio-economic perspective, and I was really impressed by the work of Hope Genesis and the Inousse Fund, so we will definitely conduct them after the end of the conference. The initiative New Life in the Village was created to address two major issues: the demographic decline and the desertification of rural areas. In Furna, for the first time this year, the kindergarten remained closed. The primary school, if nothing changed, would have only one student the next year due to the absence of young families with small children. Faced with this dead end, me and the Father Konstantinos, the priest of Furna, made a decision to take action. In August, we posted an announcement on social media inviting families who wanted to start a new life in our village. We offered them free housing or rental support, assistance in finding employment, and financial aid for their initial expenses. The response was overwhelming. The post gathered over 20,000 shares, and we received applications from more than 100 families, a number that continues to grow every day. Today, we are proud to say that we have 2 families with a total of 9 children have already relocated to our village, doubling the number of children in our community. In the next 2 months, we expect 2 more families with 7 children, bringing even more life to our village. Our goal is not to provide handouts, but to build a thriving community where people will live, work, and create their own futures. For this reason, we reach out to entrepreneurs, encouraging them to invest in our area. And the first major success is now a reality. The founder of the bakery chain Koulurades, with over 150 stores in Greece and abroad, has decided to make the first investment in Furna and open a bakery in Furna, creating new jobs for local residents and their new families. At the same time, in the neighboring village, he will establish a water bottling plant utilizing a natural spring in Britannia, creating even more jobs. These investments prove that entrepreneurship can go hand in hand with social responsibility, and we hope that many more entrepreneurs will follow this example. Our initiative has already become a model of inspiration for other regions in all over the Greece. And we are not stopping here. In just a few months, New Life in the Village has managed to provide free school supplies to all students, secure free school meals for primary school students, establish the Solidarity Closet, offering clothes, shoes, and other essential items to families in need, offered free online English classes that it was not here all these years. The students can learn English here. There wasn't an English teacher here. So we also ensure that all English textbooks are provided for free. And in the other month, we prepare to establish a public library in order to become a hub for cultural activities and educational tourism in our village. And we achieved all this with the help of the people who support us and stand by us. For this year, our goal is to attract more entrepreneurs and renovate 3 houses to accommodate even more families. To achieve this, we have created the NGO New Life in the Village, through which you can follow our progress and, if you wish, contribute financially with full transparency at all the times. Dear audience, our village is being reborn. Through collective effort, we can bring life back to every forgotten village in Greece. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. Together we can build a better future.
Thank you so much, Panayota, I can call you. I think we are all amazed. New Life in the Village, I think, will become the talk of the town, even here in London, big town. And so if you are not already the talk of the town, congratulations and good luck to your work. Amazing. And sorry, Panayota, just do you have like a couple of minutes, because the ambassador would like to tell you something?
Of course.
This was the only time I wanted to say something. Just to say congratulations. I mean, you are a role model for all of us here in London, but for our children, for our communities here. Thank you very much for what you are doing. Congratulations, συγχαρητήρια μέσα από την καρδιά μας και ελπίζουμε να πάνε όλα καλά. Να είστε καλά.
Thank you, Panayota, and hope to see you soon in person someday. Thank you. Congratulations. Keep on your good work. Thank you. Bye. And I believe tonight's event was about finding ways to mitigate the challenges of demographic change, to make the most of the opportunities it brings, based on evidence and human rights. Tonight's inclusive approach, dialogue, and exchange of ideas has provided some actionable insights that can help us address the demographic challenges and pave the way for a more sustainable and prosperous future for the world we live in and the world we want to make a better place. Thank you all very much for your presence. We are very honored. Please join us for further discussion at the small reception to follow, and we wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Κοντά μας έχουμε τον Έλληνα πρέσβη στο Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο, κύριο Γιάννη Τσαούση. Κύριε Τσαούση, ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για τη φιλοξενία. Πείτε μας δύο λόγια για την απόψινή εκδήλωση.
Καταρχάς, σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ που ήρθατε και ευχαριστώ και όλους όσους είναι πάνω ακόμα και περνάνε καλά, αλλά πριν από αυτό είχαν μια εμπειρία όπως την είχα και εγώ, εξοικείωσης με ένα θέμα το οποίο είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό σε διεθνές επίπεδο, σε ευρωπαϊκό επίπεδο, αλλά και αφορά τη χώρα μας. Αυτό είναι το δημογραφικό. Είχα τη δυνατότητα να έχω εκλεκτούς καλεσμένους, εκπροσώπους των Ηνωμένων Εθνών, της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, αλλά βεβαίως και Έλληνες του Λονδίνου, οι οποίοι συνεισφέρουν στο δημογραφικό, παίρνοντας πρωτοβουλίες ανθρωπιστικές ή και άλλες πρωτοβουλίες οι οποίες είναι στοχευμένες για την αντιμετώπιση αυτού του ζητήματος. Είναι ένα πολύ μεγάλο ζήτημα. Ο Πρωθυπουργός μας έχει πει πρόσφατα, ο κ. Μητσοτάκης, ότι είναι ένα εθνικό θέμα. Έχει δώσει και μια συνέντευξη γι' αυτό και τα Υπουργεία, το αρμόδιο Υπουργείο Οικογένειας και Κοινωνικής Συνοχής, αλλά και όλα τα συναρμόδια Υπουργεία έχουν λάβει συγκεκριμένες δράσεις. Υπάρχει ένα εθνικό σχέδιο το οποίο όλοι υπηρετούμε και εμείς προσπαθούμε με αυτές τις εκδηλώσεις ακριβώς να αναδείξουμε τις ελληνικές πρωτοβουλίες αλλά και την ελληνική διάθεση. Ειδικά οι Έλληνες της διασποράς βοηθούν πάρα πολύ. Και βεβαίως και είναι και πρωτοβουλίες που έρχονται από τον κόσμο, από την Ελλάδα, και είδαμε με μεγάλη συγκίνηση τη δασκάλα στα φουρνά Βρετανίας που κάνει όλη αυτή την προσπάθεια μαζί βέβαια με τον ιερέα, γιατί όλοι μαζί είμαστε σε αυτό. Να συμβάλλουμε στην επίλυση του προβλήματος, το οποίο το βρίσκουμε ήδη μπροστά μας, αλλά θα το βρουν και οι επόμενες γενιές μπροστά τους.
Αξιοθαύμαστες πρωτοβουλίες, θα λέγαμε. Κάνατε κάποια στιγμή μία ερώτηση σε μία εκ των ομιλητριών, προσωπική, πάνω σχετικά με το τι την κινητοποιεί, ποιο είναι το κίνητρό της. Εγώ λοιπόν θα ήθελα να ρωτήσω εσάς ποιο είναι το κίνητρό σας, τι σας κινητοποιεί?
Υπάρχουν προσωπικά κίνητρα, όπως πάντα σε αυτές τις περιπτώσεις, ειδικά όταν θέλουμε να κάνουμε πράγματα μαζί, να φέρνω κόσμο μαζί που έχουν δουλέψει πάνω σε ένα αντικείμενο, ακόμα και αν είναι από άλλες χώρες, αν είναι εκπρόσωποι διεθνών οργανισμών, αν είναι Έλληνες, αξιόλογα στελέχη της παροικίας μας εδώ. Αυτό είναι κάτι το οποίο μου δίνει έτσι ένα προσωπικό κίνητρο, γιατί πάντα στη ζωή μου προσπαθώ να δουλέψω με ομάδα. Έχουμε και εδώ μια καταπληκτική ομάδα 2 ανθρώπων και εγώ άλλος ένας που τα κάνουμε όλα αυτά, και πραγματικά θέλω σε αυτό να προσθέτουμε και άλλους οι οποίοι ήδη κάνουν πάρα πολλά πράγματα, και νομίζω το προσωπικό μου κίνητρο είναι έτσι λίγο πιο πολύ αυτό.
Και αυτή ήταν η πρώτη εκδήλωση για το 2025, σωστά? Τι να περιμένουμε για το υπόλοιπο της χρονιάς?
Η Ελλάδα έχει εκλεγεί μη μόνιμο μέλος του Συμβουλίου Ασφαλείας. Οπότε και όλες οι πρεσβείες μας για το 2025-2026. Οπότε σε αυτή τη διετία όλες οι πρεσβείες μας προσπαθούν, ειδικά πρεσβείες μεγάλες όπως η πρεσβεία μας στο Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο, να κάνουν πράγματα τα οποία αφορούν προβλήματα παγκόσμια και προβλήματα στα οποία η Ελλάδα και το Υπουργείο Εξωτερικών πρωταγωνιστεί. Και γι' αυτό το λόγο προσπαθούμε να συνδυάσουμε θεματολογία και να προβάλλουμε θεματολογία που έχει να κάνει με τους στόχους μας και την παρουσία μας στα Ηνωμένα Έθνη. Αυτό είναι ένα πρόβλημα που αντιμετωπίζουν τα Ηνωμένα Έθνη, και είναι βεβαίως και άλλα θέματα όπως τα παιδιά στις ένοπλες σειράξεις, οι γυναίκες και οι προκλήσεις που αντιμετωπίζουν σε θέματα ασφάλειας, ειδικά σε περιόδους και σε περιοχές κρίσεων. Και βεβαίως υπάρχουν και πολλά άλλα θέματα όπως η ελευθερία της ναυσιπλοείας, που είναι θεματολογία που προβάλλουμε στα Ηνωμένα Έθνη, και βεβαίως και εδώ, διότι όπως ξέρετε μόλις έφυγε ο Υπουργός Ναυτιλίας. Είναι ένα θέμα με το οποίο ασχολούμαστε και εδώ πολύ στο Λονδίνο, διότι προσωπούμε τη χώρα στο Διεθνή Οργανισμό Ναυτιλίας, τον IMO.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για μία ακόμη φορά, κύριε Τσάουση. Καλή συνέχεια.